This is Zane and the Hurricane, and we are reading Chapter 15, Snake City. After breakfast, saltine crackers and peanut butter, we load some bottled waters and canned goods into the canoe. Where we go if everything underwater? Melvina wants to know. Maybe we should stay and wait for your friend. Ain't safe place around here, Mr. True says, looking weary at the guns, looking where the guns were shooting last night. We gotta find us some dry ground. Leastway, get us to a working phone, and then maybe I'd try and call my cousin Belinda. She got a place over in Algiers. Might be it was above the flood. Might be. Might be? Melvina says, making a face. Huh? Mr. True gives her a look. This ain't might be world we livin' in, darling. That's just the way it be. Sorry, Melvina says, looking apologetic. You're right, True. Nah, I mean to say you might be right. Then she gives him a big, triumphant grin. He snorts and shakes his head. I ain't never win with you, darling. I got the music, but you got the words, no doubt. I'm not sure what they're talking about exactly, but they both seem pleased with each other, and an hour after dawn, we paddle into the thin daylight, into a muggy heat, knowing it's going to get hotter as the sun rises. Flood levels look about the same, with one-story houses showing only their roofs above the water. The water itself glistens, filthy and clotted with all the things it has carried away. Crows complain from the crooks of the half-drowned trees. Small white seagulls scoop just above the water, fighting over scraps. At the blurry edge where the sky meets the water, smoke rises in black billows, as if the water itself is burning. Suddenly, a hot breeze wrinkles the floodwaters, followed by a rush of orange helicopters charging sideways through the sky. Coast Guard! Mr. True shouts in approval. Somebody finally showed up! The helicopters become a familiar noise. We can't see them, but we can hear them coming and going all day long, chugging across the sky. Along the way, we spot other boats. Some of the boats have motors, and some have oars, and some are barely floating. But they all are loaded with survivors, rowboats, motorboats, and noisy airboats with the big props pushing wind, and a flat kind of boat that Mr. True calls a pirogue. Cajun style, he says. He explains. Cajuns know the water, so they helping us too. It's all good. The boat people wave and we wave back, but Mr. True steers away, paddling with purpose. Can't play no hero games, he explains wearily. We got all we can rescue ourselves. We glide along for a while. The only sound we make is the paddle slipping into the water, pulling us forward. The sun burns a hot white hole in the sky. Bandy sits on my lap as if hypnotized, never barking or whining. It's kind of uncomfortable, but I can't push him away, not after what we've been through. I wonder what a dog sees. Does he see the city crushed and ruined, with rows and rows of wooden houses dissolved in the flood, and roofs like sad, broken party hats? Or is it a blur of things he can't quite figure out except for the smell part? A mind-wrinkling stink of rot and mold and garbage and smoke and something worse, something I'd rather not think about. Maybe Bandy knows, and that's what's making him so quiet. Far in the distance, a siren wails and wails. I've never heard a sound so lonesome. Melvina says, True, what'd you say about dry land and a phone? That mean you can call my mom? He lifts the paddle out of the water and pausing to consider the question. We get a message to her. Let her know you okay, he decides finally. Promise? Do my best. Makes me wonder what that means exactly, get a message to her. But I don't ask. Not my business, that's for sure. Brightened by the prospect of a phone call to her mom, Melvina keeps up a steady commentary as we glide through the neighborhood. Oh, I know that house. That's old lady Miss Henderson. She owns it till she dies. And then now it goes to her nieces. With all they kids. They made it 2 houses up and down. And over there, that rusty roof, that's a store. They sell food in the back, dirty rice and kettle fry. Real tasty. Owner let us buy candy for a penny, even if it's supposed to be a dime. They got snowballs, too. Snowballs, Mr. True says. Oh, yeah, I remember. Cold enough to freeze your throat. Uh-huh. It hurt good. And over there, that was the salon Alicia. Alicia used to do my mama hair. when I was little, and she had a parrot in a cage that would say, "Who dat?" First I thought it was a person in the other room. That's how I know the parrot was a person. Oops, I skipped a line. Sorry, guys. When I was little, she had a parrot in a cage that said, "Who dat?" First time, I thought it was a person in the other room. That's how good the parrot talk. You know Alicia. True, she most as light-skinned as Zane. He shakes his head and chuckles. Boy won't be light-skinned for long with the sun and no hat. Melvina points. See over there? Round that corner from Miss Henderson's? You can see it. Can't see it now because the water too deep. I used to know these twin girls, 1 year older than me. We sing in this karaoke box with a pink microphone. We pretend like we were auditioning for American Idol. Melvina goes on and on, describing everybody that lived in the neighborhood, all the family connections, hardly pausing to take a breath. She talks different from me, like she says dough instead of door, and stow instead of store, and toot instead of truth. But I understand her pretty good. It helps that she talks with her hands, shaping the words, but mostly I get it because she wants me to. My own mom would say she's full of beans, but for all I know, that's an insult in New Orleans. You might say she's full of sparks. You know how a sparkler can burn you sometimes, but you don't mind because the sparks are fun? Like that. You like jokes? She asks, and without waiting for a reply goes, What kind of dog keeps the best time? A watchdog. How you make an egg roll? You push it. Where do you bees go to the restroom? At the BP station. The jokes are really dumb, and I've heard most of them before, like in 4th grade. But the way she tells them, so pleased with herself, you can't help but laugh. The jokes may not be funny, but she is. What the judge say to the skunk that walked into the courthouse? Odor in the court. What do you call a pig that goes? What do you call a pig that does karaoke? A pork chop. You killing us, darling, Mr. True says, smiling indulgently. Girl want to be a stand-up comic, but she better not stand up in this canoe. Good one, Mr. True, she says. Next joke, here it comes. Which side of the leopard has the most spots? The outside. She's on a roll, watch out. What do Clydes wear under their shorts? Thunderpants. Easy, darling, you're gonna hurt yourself like you're hurting us. We gotta laugh, right, True? Yeah, that's for sure. Go on and drink some water, darling. Bottle there behind you. See it, Zane? You best have one, too. The mood changes from funny to scary all at once. I'm sipping at the warm plastic bottle, wishing it was cold, when dirty floodwaters ahead of us start to wrinkle. That's what it looks like at first, like a wrinkle when you shake out a blanket, like a bunch of wrinkles tangled up together but moving on their own. Keep your hands inside, Mr. True says in a warning tone. The fear hits like something electric, shooting up my spine and into the back of my neck. Lots of people are afraid of certain things. For instance, my mom, she's afraid of spiders. Whenever she sees a spider, she makes me take it out of her room for her. I don't mind because spiders don't scare me. They're kind of interesting with their webs and all. What does scare me, long as I can remember, is snakes. And there are snakes in the floodwater. Dozens of snakes, uncontrollable snakes, all withering together. Makes me want to scream, but I can't. Keep a hold of that dog, Mr. True says. We're going to sit real still and let him pass us by. Bandy growls deep in his throat, but I hold him still as the water around the canoe boils with snakes, some as thick as my wrist, others as small as my little finger, but all of them undilating and angry. And as if they'd like to bite one another, but they can't tell where one end of the snake ends and the next begins. Heads and tails all knotted up like slithering mass of oily ropes, coiling and uncoiling in a frenzy, thumping soft and wet against the side of the canoe. I want to close my eyes and wish them away, but it's too scary not to look. Just when it seems the worst is over, glistening tail slips over the side, and the rest of the snake curls itself outside of the water and into the bottom of the canoe. Neat as you please. The snake is a thick, scaly body and a shiny black eyes and a white mouth with fangs like white needles. The mouth is an inch from my bare toe, and as it is tasting the air, or maybe smelling how afraid I am. Something touches my shoulder. Mr. True with the blade of the paddle, silently urging me to be still. He gives me a tight smile, and then one heft move, he slips the paddle under the snake and flips it high into the air and out of the canoe.